So, you're in your 20s now. Welcome to the chaos of adulthood, where every single decision you make has a ripple effect on the rest of your life. Here's how to f it all up. So you know that hot girl you went to high school with that seemed to get overweight the moment she graduated? Well, you are going to follow in her footsteps by letting yourself go. Especially if you played sports and were actually active in high school, you need to break that daily habit of exercise as soon as you possibly can. After all, you're not playing sports anymore, right? Start to regularly consume things like alcohol and marijuana so that your brain and body is slow and polluted. Bonus points if you can habitualize this into a full-fledged addiction. And just continue eating whatever you want. Food is food. Don't worry about things like micronutrients. And if you feel mentally foggy or bloated all day, well, that's just normal. Plus, you're young, you got your metabolism, you'll be fine for now. But if for some reason you do want to go to the gym, make sure you're only going to mask your deeply rooted insecurities and use your fitness progress as a cope for the lack of achievement in all other aspects of your life. Speaking of deeply rooted insecurities, you need to avoid self-discovery at all costs, because the more you learn about yourself, the more you can change yourself for the better, which is going to make ruining your 20s much more difficult. Don't question your current beliefs or the actions you commit. Just tell yourself it's the way you are. And especially don't listen to guys like me that are going to tell you your mind is reprogrammable, because if you believe that, it makes your current state your fault instead of the world's. Outsource the majority of your thinking to the hive mind. If your social media echo chamber believes it, then it must be true. Do not waste mental energy trying to figure things out for yourself. But especially when you're alone, be sure to overstimulate yourself with social media, music, and degenerate podcasts, because this is going to ensure that your conscious mind is always too distracted to notice anything stemming from the subconscious mind, because then you may learn stuff about yourself. And finally, do not do things like journaling or meditation, especially with my free 5-day meditation series in the description, because otherwise you'll increase your levels of self-awareness and gain executive control over your mind, which will lead to things like more focus, more discipline, and overall a more present, mindful life. Instead, just tell yourself it's a bunch of wooey nonsense and ignore all the scientific literature backing it. But speaking of distraction, be on that damn phone. Treat it as your stress ball, your pacifier. In any moments of minor discomfort, pull that thing out. Even if you're just checking your emails for the 25th time, anything is better than being in the present moment. Fill your device with games, adult content, and political discourse that makes you mad all the time. Because remember, these apps are meticulously designed to trigger your emotions and addict you, so use them as much as possible so the algorithm can learn more and more about your behaviors. When you wake up in the morning, pull your phone out and lie in bed scrolling until the overwhelming sense of responsibility forces you to get up. And at night, lay in bed overdosing on that precious blue light until the mental fatigue becomes unbearable and you pass out. Because remember, when you're on your deathbed, your only regret in life will be, I wish I scrolled more. Avoid failure. We need to preserve your delusional ego at all costs. And if you go out and try things and fail, that's going to be a major blow to your ego, and it's not going to feel so good in your brain. So do not take risks, not only because there's a chance of you failing and getting judged by other people, which we really care about their opinions, but also you'd gain experience and lessons that'll lead to success down the line. No sir, if you get that urge to try something new, just consume content about it online. Don't worry, you'll still feel productive when you're doing that. Approach everything with a scarcity mindset. Desperately cling to things like money or your romantic partner, and then act surprised when that very mindset pushes them away from you. Instill limiting beliefs about yourself, because it'll create this feedback loop that drills these beliefs into your subconscious mind, which will then prevent you from trying anything new or striving for any achievements. But when you do have to go out and do something, ensure that you do not try your hardest at anything, whether it's physically in the gym or mentally at work or at home, because if you do, even once, you may become aware of your true abilities and potential and realize that everything you've done up until that point has been mediocre and half-assed. And it may result in you setting a new standard for yourself. And the best way to avoid that would be just follow the script. Blindly trust authority figures in your life. As soon as you graduate high school, rush into college. You can drop out later if you want, but the important thing is that you go out and take a massive loan for tuition. Then go and find a comfy job that pays you just enough money to prevent you from quitting. And after work, be sure to unwind by further stressing your brain out with things like having a drink, watching some TV, scrolling on the phone, playing some video games. Anything that'll prevent you from using that time to explore other options and paths that could take you out of your current situation, such as registering for my free upcoming training on how I built a powerful personal brand and a hyper-profitable solo business, all by just talking about my interests online. Don't register for that because you might accidentally learn life-changing information. Cave into societal pressures and rush into a relationship. Ignore the fact that your partner kind of sucks 80% of the time. That's how love works, right? Be extremely frugal and sacrifice everything to pinch pennies so that you can finally retire at 70 years old. Unless inflation has anything to say about that. But most importantly, allow other people's opinions to dictate your decision making. After all, you are what you think other people think about you. But as we know, the purpose of life is to chase happiness. So have as much fun as possible. Listen to the older people that tell you you're only young once and cash out all your fun tokens early. Ignore the fact that you have another 50 to 60 years of life left, most likely. And you can do this by treating excess pleasure as a daily requirement for your life, not a reward for achievement or something like that. You can play video games for hours, you can get trashed on the weekends at clubs and bars, or you can do what the kids call gooning. Just pretty much anything that can squeeze as much dopamine into your receptors as possible. Now granted, you'll quickly notice that these things aren't actually very fulfilling or lead to long-term enjoyment, which means you need to be doing them all the time so you don't have any chance to feel those feelings. But by the way, don't worry about the long-term ramifications of things like that. That's for your future self to deal with. After all, you can always lock in later, right? But finally, there is one thing that if you do it, it will lead to immense amounts of fulfillment, it'll lead to immense amounts of opportunity, and even levels of financial, time, and location freedom. So avoid learning skills. Be content with your surface level understanding of everything, just like everyone else. And do not click the video on the screen right now because I talk about the 5 evergreen skills that will pay off forever and could most definitely change your life in your 20s as it did for me. Do not click on this video. You can go watch some TikToks or YouTube shorts instead. Maybe fire up a Subway Surfer game or some porn.